Hi, beautiful black women. My name is Abby. In this video, we're talking about the new marriage propaganda coming from men and how it's being used to shame and pressure women back into a system that was never built to benefit us. More and more, we're seeing men talk about how valuable marriage is, not because they suddenly believe in love or partnership, but because they're watching women walk away from them and still win. These men don't actually want to get married for the right reasons. They just want to reclaim control over women who are becoming too free, too happy, and too unavailable for exploitation. For decades, marriage was treated like a trap, especially by men. There was a time when men openly mocked the idea of marriage. They saw it as a burden, a loss of freedom, a ball and chain. Bachelor culture was glorified, and settling down was something men only did when they had no other options. Men warned each other about gold diggers, about alimony, and about child support. Podcast and barbershop conversations were full of jokes about how a man's life ended the minute he says I do. So now this sudden shift where men are turning around and praising marriage, it's not growth, it's just a strategy. Because the truth is, marriage has always benefited men way more than it has ever benefited women. Men who are married live longer, experience less stress, and tend to build more wealth. But they're not doing this on their own. They're getting all of those benefits because they have someone cooking, cleaning, raising kids, and emotionally supporting them while also holding down a job. Meanwhile, women who get married often lose sleep, time, ambition, and peace. They carry the emotional weight, the household labor, and they're still expected to look grateful. So when men say they value marriage, what they really mean is they value the woman inside of it doing all the work. Now let's be clear, the kind of marriage most men are advocating for isn't rooted in love, it's rooted in labor. When you peel back the layers, what men praise in marriage is not intimacy, emotional connection, or growth. It's a woman taking care of the kids, washing his underwear, doing the dishes, planning appointments, and being sexually available while asking for nothing in return. They don't miss commitment, they miss control. The fantasy isn't about partnership, it's about securing a personal assistant who also sleeps with them and doesn't talk back. And now that women are happily getting divorced, a lot of men are starting to panic. They're seeing women smile more, glow more, and get healthier after leaving them. Women are reclaiming their peace, spending their own money, and learning that they were never the problem to begin with. And that terrifies men. Because a woman who realizes she can survive and even thrive without a man is a woman that they can no longer manipulate. She's not desperate. She's not chasing a ring. She's not available for struggled love. And that's why men are now trying to shame women for not being married. Or worse, for leaving a marriage that drained her. Okay, because the patriarchy depends on your unpaid labor. Let's be honest, this system doesn't benefit from women being happy, free, and single. It benefits when you're tied to a man, raising his kids, doing his chores, and making his life easier. That's why society keeps telling women that marriage is the ultimate goal. That's why they act like something's wrong with you if you're over 30 and you're not married. Because it is not about your happiness. It's about the system's stability. You not being married is a threat to the entire infrastructure that relies on your sacrifice. That's why you're now seeing men change the narrative, so you better be careful. Men are suddenly talking about how valuable wives are. They're quoting stats about married couples being wealthier. They're talking about legacy, family, and tradition, but only to pressure women into giving up their freedom. They're not changing for the better. They're just repackaging the same manipulation. When you see men asking, "Where's her husband?" or saying, "If she was so great, she'd be married," understand that it's a tactic. They're not talking from love, they're talking from fear. Fear of women being out of reach. But here's what they can't stop. Women are waking up. Women are realizing their value doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from choosing themselves. Women are starting to understand that they can raise kids on their own, build wealth on their own terms, and live full lives without being tied down to someone who sees them as a chef, a maid, a personal assistant, and someone who is just around to raise his kids. Marriage is no longer the dream. Peace is. And if marriage doesn't come with peace, love, it's not worth the price. There's no reason to get married. And no, marriage itself is not the enemy, but forced marriage, shamed marriage, one-sided marriage is. If a woman chooses to marry someone who truly respects her, supports her, and walks beside her as an equal, that is the most beautiful thing in the world. But what's being pushed today is not that. What's being pushed is marriage as a solution to single womanhood, as if a ring magically validates your worth. Don't fall for it. Marriage is not proof of value. Your joy is. I hope all these women are starting to understand that us as women, we don't exist to keep the patriarchy running smoothly. We don't owe our life, our time, our body, or our energy to any man, any institution, or any system that doesn't pour back into us. If marriage serves you, that's your right. But if it doesn't, you're still whole, and you don't have to settle. You don't have to prove anything. I just think it's so interesting that we're seeing a shift right now. Men who literally once saw marriage as a trap are now using it as a tool to shame and pressure women. Not because they suddenly value love or commitment, but because they see women living full, happy lives without them. They're losing access to that free labor, emotional support, and control that marriage used to guarantee them. So now they are reframing it. They're hoping women will go back to being quiet, married, and useful. But the truth is, marriage has always benefited men more than women. And this new narrative is not about change, it's about panic. That's why it's important to question the pressure. Look at who benefits from marriage. You better make sure that if you do choose marriage, you're choosing it on your own terms and not theirs. To all the Black women watching this, I love you so, 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 so much. And until my next one, bye.